Stop going into these people's places and letting them tell you what to do with your body.
Right.
If we're in a space where we're going to seek help, I'm not leaving without help.
Welcome to That's Derm Good. I'm Janelle Ball, and I'm excited to bring you thought-provoking conversations about biologics, specialty medications, treatments, and so much more. I'll be chatting with some amazing guests about access, affordability, and advocacy. You're really going to enjoy this show. Welcome to That's Derm Good. Today, my guest is Frank Grimsley. Frank is a TV personality and HS patient. Welcome, Frank. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I just realized that Derm Good is a play on words. I love that. So cute.
Yes.
I didn't even think about it until you said it. I was like, oh, I get it.
I know it takes a second. So my husband likes to try and take credit for that name, but it's fun. I love it. This is my first time having a TV personality on the show. You are the winner of The Circle season
Mhm.
4. Okay, I had to do a little bit of research. Don't be mad, but I had never heard of The Circle before.
It's okay.
And
It's
so
okay,
I
girl.
had to do a little crash course and
Mhm.
cliff notes. So I did watch the season finale.
Very good.
Tell me a little bit about that. How did you get to be on that show, and what inspired you to want to be on reality TV? Were you doing anything in that space before?
No, actually, I wasn't. I was actually a little boy, 5 years old. I grew up in a small town called Shorterville, Alabama. We only have a gas station, a post office, so a very small town. So I was the only child. I was the only one around my age. So I used to just dream all day. I would sit in
Mm.
front of TV on my blanket and just look at TV and be like, I want to get inside there. Like I loved it. I love watching game shows. And I just always knew I would be on TV one day. And I'm sorry, I'm a certified yapper
Yeah,
as well. So I hope there's not a strict time
that's
limit on my
good.
responses. But I remember graduating from undergrad, and one of my best friends, she wrote on a card, I can't wait to see you on TV one day. No side of TV in mind. I'm just in Alabama still. And I remember reading the card and I was like, I believe that this is really going to happen. And so, fast forward to me moving to DC for grad school at Howard
Mhm.
to be a social worker. I went through grad school. I became a school social worker. But the whole time I had been watching this show, and it was basically
Mhm.
about people on social media. And at the time, I was already doing like a lot of social media work. I was already a personality, and I was helping brands with their social media at the time. The first season, I was like, oh my God, like I could do this. Someone
Mhm.
actually told me to watch it because I would be a good person for it. And the seasons kept coming out and kept coming out. And I was like, how do I get on the show? I actually tweeted about it one year. I was
Mhm.
like, Circle called me. One day I was riding down the street and saw the application, and I submitted an application one day and I got a text message like 2 hours later. And
Oh,
the
that
rest
is
is
awesome.
history. Yeah.
You watch some of these reality shows, and I'm like, how do people even get on there? Where do you even find any of that stuff? So, I mean, I guess you got to be kind of looking and really want to do it, but that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we're gonna be strategic about this. I'm gonna watch the credits, see who the producers are, send the media company a DM. I ended up sending them a DM. They never saw it. They only saw it until
Wow.
after I was like, I sent y'all a DM. So it's just funny. It's crazy how life works.
Yeah, it is. That's wild. How was it being on the show?
It was a great experience. It was interesting being, I filmed, at the time they were filming in Manchester. So I had to go to Manchester for 5 weeks. It was during the middle of COVID. So
Hmm.
I had already had never been that far away from home by myself, but I spent 2 weeks in isolation before I could even go play the game. And
Wow.
they took all your electronics. They take your phone. The only thing I had that I snuck in was my Apple Watch. And it's because I realized I was like, they're not gonna know I have an Apple Watch if I just take it off and put it in my pocket right now. So yeah, and they gave you like a little burner phone. And you could.
Wow.
I had to write down my friends' numbers, talk to them through WhatsApp. We could only watch Netflix. So I spent 2 weeks in isolation by myself. And
Wow.
then we go into the game and be isolated. So it was a fun experience. I would definitely do it again. It's funny you asked me about that because I was watching Traders. That's why I was late getting on the call. And I was like, I think I'm ready for another round of a game show. So
Yeah.
we
That
might
well, you know how to do it now.
listen. I know how to do it now, and I feel like I just love to win. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we're gonna bring forth some new energy because I'm
Right. I love that. That is so good. I will be waiting, and then as soon as I hear, I'm like, "Yep, he said that first."
yeah, clip this and be like, he said it. Now I don't know. I don't got a way
Right.
right now, but we don't gotta have a way. We just gotta have the thing that know we're gonna get there.
Right. So you went to undergraduate at University of Alabama, master's at Howard University. What brought you to want to get into this line of work?
I think I was trying to obtain a PhD because I thought that my future was in social work. I think I went to that school for maybe 6 weeks, and I was like, "This is not my portion." This school stuff we ran as long as I just was not feeling it. But
Mm,
that was the vehicle to get me to where I am now. But I think when I got my undergraduate degree, I've always been like, I'm not really sure what I want to do. Like what I do now is what I wanted to do. I just grew
mhm,
up in a small town, so there was no way to like get to it. So I was like, well, I have to get a job. I wanted
mhm,
to do broadcast journalism. And I looked up the salary in undergrad, and I was like, "Oh!" I remember it said $33,000, and I was like, I think I want to be a little wealthier. I don't think that's gonna really cut it." So I changed my major to criminal justice because at the time I thought I was going to law school. Ended up not wanting to go to law school after so many grueling years of undergrad.
mhm,
And I had a friend that had told me about social work, and I was like, well, people always come and ask me for advice. I don't have another plan, so maybe I
mhm,
should just go back to school. I can always do this because I had already worked in education while I was in undergrad. I was basically like a teacher's aide, and looking back at it, I was more so of the school social worker
mhm.
because I was running around making things happen. So yeah, I think I just fell into this, and now I don't do it at all, which is crazy.
I feel like social work is such a broad title. What all does that entail?
I used to do a little bit of everything. I worked at the Prince George's County Department of Social Services as a
Mhm,
community resource advocate. And basically, I would be working with schools and kids and trying to find them resources, access to housing vouchers. Then, when I became a school social worker, I became more of like a therapist to them, coming up with
mhm,
strategies and interventions and plans for kids in the school who, were underserved to have pull out sessions and push
mm,
in sessions. I would sit with kids in the class. I also did private practice where I gave therapy to kids and their families, and that was something that was really important to me because I went into it with an approach of I want to help the kids, but I also
mhm,
we have to help the family as a whole.
mhm,
So I would meet with parents every week before I met with the kids. It was really interesting. I think it is such a broad career because I do still see where I implement some of the strategies that I learned
mhm,
because social work is all about meeting people where they are. And I think that
mhm.
is what I have to do on the internet is meeting
Right.
people where they are. It's all about using your community, accessing your community, building your community, cultivating it. I think I do all of those things. I'm getting ready to go into a season where I'm getting ready to write a book about grief and loss because I've experienced so much of it in my life. I lost my
Mhm.
parents when I was younger. Before I was even 15, I had lost both of my parents. I lost
Oh,
my
wow.
grandparents in my 20s. I just experienced such a vast amount of loss compared to people in my age group and older. Like
Mhm,
I have all of my friends right now, for the most part, still have their parents. And
mhm,
I believe that I had to go through all that so that I can bring a generation of people through that when
mhm,
it's time. So being able to show them like what you're going through right now, I went through that, and this is how I cope with it. I'm getting ready to go dust that license off, see if I can get recertified because I just feel like when I write a book, it's gonna look better. TV personality, licensed therapist. If you don't have your license, they don't say you a social worker. So yeah, I'm gonna dust her off and bring out some treatment modalities and things
mhm.
and make it attainable for every kind of person, no matter
Right.
if you're 15 or you're 55. You should be able to read this book and not only understand, walk away with strategies, but also like being able to find joy on the other side of it.
Right. Wow. So you essentially have always been in the advocacy role. I mean, that really is advocacy. You're advocating for supporting, children and people that are struggling with things that sometimes it can be unimaginable what people are going through and being able to get through that. So that advocacy side has been something that you've kind of been working through for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've been doing it for such a long time. I think even going back to when I was in undergrad, I was always the
Mhm.
advocating for inclusivity for people of size. A
Mhm.
modeling turned me down, and I know I had the best walk than half of the men. Oh, all of the men and half of the women. But
Mhm.
I was turned down, and I was like, I don't really like that. So I went and created my own modeling troupe. And so like always advocating for people that no is not a no, it's just a not
Right.
yet. So
Yeah.
always in a space of, I always wanted to be what I wanted to see and what I needed. So even in like the entertainment space right now, I never saw anybody like me, a man growing up. We had, people like Monique and things like that, but she was a woman. And I was like,
Mhm.
I want to see more of myself. And a social
Mhm.
worker, I felt like I needed that because I went to school the same day my mom passed. She passed, I found her before school, and
Wow.
I was at school within the next 4 hours. And I remember walking in the school and people looking at me like I was a ghost.
Wow.
But that was how I coped. I never
Mhm.
had therapy as a kid for it. I had a great school counselor who would, talk with me and things like that. But I think I've always advocated and been a champion of, I don't let the painful moments define me. I turn them into
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your HS journey. When did you first learn that you had it? But you actually experienced it with your mom. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, my mom growing up, she was like so like big energy and vivacious.
Mhm.
And I remember I was like, that was my favorite person. And if you think about myself and like, you know her because you know me, but multiply myself times 10 and you'll get her. But I remember the days where she would just randomly like be just tired, didn't want to get out of bed. And I remember because I was always up under her, one of those kids where you can't go to the bathroom and no, I'm coming too. And listen, I remember her being in the mirror busting pustules. At the time, I
Mm.
didn't know what it was, and I remember asking her like, "What is that?" I don't think she knew. I know she didn't know. So when I got my first pustule when I was 16, I was like, this looks familiar.
Mm.
This reminds me of what I saw. And when I would experience being tired and not wanting to get out of bed, just being drained of my energy, I was like, oh, this is what she had. And I don't know what this is. And I don't know anybody else that has this. So I immediately said, well, she never talked about it, so maybe it's something that I should not talk about either. And I didn't.
Mm.
I just struggled in silence and dealt with it in ways looking back that could have been detrimental to my health, but it was the only way I knew because I didn't know anybody with this. I didn't know what to call it. And you got to think, my mom passed away when I was 14. So I'm
Mm.
like, in my head, is this something that contributed to that? Like, I don't know what to do with this. But I
Wow.
knew that it was something that I needed to keep within myself. And I did. But that was my first experience with it. And yeah, again, pain into purpose because I never would have thought back then, looking forward to
Mhm.
today, that I would be having a conversation with you about it
Mhm.
in the space of advocacy and not in
Right.
the space of suffrage. So
Yeah.
it's really a full circle moment.
Yeah. So what led you to actually being diagnosed and understanding what HS is and how it can affect you?
Well, I got bold enough when I went to college, and I was like, I'm tired of dealing with this. I'm a college girl. Like I'm finna really, really grow up in my head. So I went to the doctor, and I remember being in the car before I got out, and I was like, "We're gonna do this," because I hadn't told my family or anything. Got out the car, went to the doctor's office, and the doctor was looking at me like I was a science experiment. She said, "Hold on 1 second." She came back in, and she brought a whole bunch of doctors and like nurses in to like look at me. And I remembered getting in the car after that, and I was like, "Well, yeah, we're never doing that again." Because I
Right.
remember calling back, and I'm like, "You did all that. Hey, is there an update?" And they was all the tests came back negative. We don't know what it is. And I'm like, "Okay, well, you did all that. Y'all all need to be fired because don't none of y'all know what's going on down here at the doctor's office." So I didn't say anything else about it for a long time. I would go to the doctor all throughout undergrad. I had a bull like this big
Mm.
under my arm, and I had to walk around like this because anytime I couldn't close my arm because it hurt
Oh,
that
wow.
bad, and I had to walk. I had to lay in her car in the back seat. She took me to the doctor. They opened it up. They lanced it and stuffed it with gauze and sent me back home because they didn't know what it was either.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, the diagnosis was an accident. It was
Mm.
actually my good girlfriend, a good dermatologist. She had been my dermatologist before a moment for like my skincare concerns. My insurance changed, so I had to leave her. I got my job as a school social worker. See, everything always lines up with me. I got my job as a school social worker. I had the insurance again. So I was like, oh, I'm going back to my girl because my face was looking amazing. Went to her and we're just talking. She knows so much about skin. And as she's talking, I was like, you know what? You know a lot about skin. Like, I have these like boils and abscesses that I get that drain like all the time. Like, would you have happened to ever heard of that? And she was like, oh, that sounds like hidradenitis suppurativa. And I said, huh? She said,
Mm.
yeah, I did a case study on it for when I was at grad school at Howard. Like, that's what I studied. But I mean,
Wow.
I can look at you and see if that's what it is. But based on what you said and how long you say you've had it sounds like HS. And I was like, dang, it's just that simple.
Wow.
You have to look at me. And you
Hmm.
knew what it was. And I was like, wow. The only way I could describe it is I could exhale. I could
Hmm.
exhale. Because when she told me that there was treatment options for it, I was like,
You're like, I've
there's
been struggling this long.
I wanted to go back to that other doctor and knock them upside their head, girl.
I believe it.
Listen, it was an accident, but everything happens for a reason. And that was
Right.
definitely one of those things.
Wow. So, after learning about your diagnosis and all of that, how did you navigate through life? I mean, you seem like you already had a bubbly personality and you handled stress a lot differently than most people.
Mhm.
So, when you were like, okay, now I know what's going on, you're just like, okay, I'm gonna go about my day. That's normal. Business as usual.
Well, business as different. So actually, after that, I went on the circle. Not too
Mm.
long after that,
Oh.
so I had to actually leave my job, which means I had to change insurances. So I had got this diagnosis, but I
Mm.
didn't know, it was just a lot. I ended up going to another doctor. And because I had this information, I went into him. Hey, I have hidradenitis suppurativa. I know that there are treatment options for it. I need you to tell me which treatment option that will go along with the other medications that I'm already taking
Hmm.
for someone of my size, being a black man. How many options are there? Which one's the best for me? And he looked at me and I looked at him and he was like, well, I said, no, I've dealt with this for over half of my life, and it's had over half of my life. We don't need to do none of the preliminary steps. I'm
Hmm.
telling you which one of the treatments you're gonna put me on, and I'm not leaving here without you giving me an option
Hmm.
today. He was like, well, since you sound like you know what you want to do, I do have some patients that have started taking something called Cosmetics. It's been working for them, and I ain't asked no questions. I said, okay, well, what I need to do? Put me in the game, coach.
Right.
So yeah, I wanted to try it because I had tried everything,
Hmm.
the natural way. Yeah, and I just was eager because I'm like, My life is pretty great right now. Like, I'm very much so a glass half full type of guy.
Hmm.
But if there's something out there that people are saying is helping,
Hmm.
if I can have even just a little bit of help,
Right.
I'll take it. And I
Yeah.
want to explore that. And if that one don't work, I want to try another one. If that one don't work, I want to try all. Yeah. So I was very steadfast and no, we gonna figure this out.
Yeah. And that's good too. I think a lot of people, their typical reaction to a major diagnosis like this, especially something that can be so debilitating sometimes, is to kind of retreat, to not want to be around people, to, you know, not be in a great mood. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's completely understandable. I think it's just, people don't always understand how to cope with something with that. And you get, like you said, you leave the doctor's office and you don't get answers, or you may get an answer that you don't really like and you don't know what else to do with it.
Yeah.
So having that advocacy side is so huge. And I think, and I see, with me on my side of the derm world, I work in the access space. So I see a lot of the struggles with so many
Mm-hmm.
patients, of the frustrations of access, when it comes to, dealing with insurance and what they're going to cover, what they're not going to cover, especially when you go in and you have that conversation with the doctor and you're like, what's the best thing for me? What is going to work? And, and they prescribe you something, and then insurance is like, no, we don't
Mm-hmm.
think so. You got to try this first. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Listen, I know it's your first time meeting me, but I'm not doing none of that other stuff because I already done talked to my homegirl and she done told me that there are some treatment options. So all this
Mhm.
other rigmarole, I ain't standing for it. And I'm glad that I'm able to be in a space where I can talk to people about that, because stop going into these people's places and letting them tell you what to do with your body.
Right.
If we're in a space where we're going to seek help, I'm not leaving without help. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of us are like, especially people of color, we're going to the
Mhm.
doctor and we're letting people just tell us anything when we're at home with our bodies every single day. I know
Right.
how my body is functioning. I know that I done tried this other stuff. I
Mhm.
know that it probably is not going to work. So you're not going to waste my time because it already take 3 or 4 months to get into the doctor's office anyway. We
Mhm.
not finna waste no time. We not finna tarry. We ain't finna play. You go in there and
That's
put your,
true.
if anybody listening to this, you go in there and put your foot down. Okay? And if
Yeah.
you gotta get nasty, get nasty. Flip the room over. Okay? And I learned that in social work as well. Like, you are your biggest advocate every single
Mhm.
time. We must be steadfast in doing that.
Yeah. When you first went onto the circle, was that ever anything that you were thinking, that subject will come up, or if it comes up, I'm going to talk about it? Or, at that point, were you open about sharing that information?
I mean, I think I was pretty open on the circle. I kind of told a lot of my business, but at the time when I went on the circle, I didn't know that there was like support groups, and
Mhm.
I knew about the treatment at the time, but I didn't know that it was something that I was going to be able to like do, because I think at the time the dermatologist, the first one, she had recommended something to me, but she said it was pretty expensive.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, girl, I don't know about pretty expensive. So we're gonna have to pray on that. But I think at the time when I was on the circle, I was flaring bad,
Mm.
bad, but I still had to get up and perform, and not perform like be fake, but I have a big personality, and when you have a big personality on TV, they're wanting big moments from you. You have to
Mhm.
know I'm not the silent person. I'm not the one that's in the background. I'm a starter, what I
Mhm.
call it. And when it's time to go, it's time to go. I remember filming The Circle and like being so like exhausted. Think about it. I'm in a different environment. I'm eating
Mhm.
different food. I have a whole different schedule. I don't have any ways to like cope with any of this. So it was just a lot. Being on there was a lot. We had long filming days and filming in a flare. I remember I had like flares under my chest, and I remember never wanting to like be without my shirt. I think I even had a droplet from a flare in the bed, like residue.
Mhm.
And I remember like trying to like make sure that I kept my bed covered up,
Mhm.
because even though nobody ever came in our rooms, I was like, I don't want there to be a camera moment. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember, like I would get out the bed a certain way because I slept with no shirt on because it was hot in the rooms, and hot equals for me flare. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just the way you think with HS is just completely different from just anybody else. So yeah, it was an interesting journey for sure. But I think if the opportunity presented itself, I definitely would have not shied away from the conversation because I believe our advocacy, it is unfair for us to hoard our stories because
Mm-hmm.
they could help save somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many people that are dealing with psychological issues because of chronic conditions like HS, whether it's, suicide ideology or, just depression and anxiety. I mean, everybody deals with it anyways, I think to an extent, but when you're living with a chronic condition, I think it can be heightened even more. And so knowing how to cope with it and understanding it, I think is so important. And having people in your corner that can kind of say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this as well. And this is how I handle it." It can be an inspiration to so many people.
Hmm.
So, when did you first realize that your own HS journey could be part of your public advocacy?
I did it. My life is much better when I surrender and
Mhm,
feel like it's always in the things that I don't think are going to be anything. I remember when I started on Cosentix, I saw results and I was happy.
mhm,
I was happy about it. And it was at the time where I had realized like, oh, there are people on TikTok talking about HS.
mm,
And I'm not a like TikToker. I'm trying to do better over there because I have a community of people over there. But something told me. I remember how I felt going to get my medicine.
mm,
And Kaiser has a mail order system, so you can have your prescriptions mailed to you.
mhm,
I never, to this day, don't get my prescription mailed to me because when it's time for my monthly injections, I'm happy to go pick this up. I'm happy
mhm,
to go pick up something that has been successful, and that helps me. So I get in my car, that same car. But
mhm,
I remember that day, I got in the car, and I was like, something is just telling me I should just tell people about this because I'm like, I ain't seen nobody talk about it, and I'm wondering why. And I just did it. I just
mhm,
did it. And I went and left the video, and I didn't think nothing else about it. And I didn't think anything about it for quite some time. And then one day, a few years later, I get an email from somebody, and they're basically people from Cosentix. And they was
mhm,
like, hey, we saw that video you posted about HS. I had gotten some other opportunities, but I had noticed I ended up having to go back to the video because I did an advocacy project with HS Connect.
mhm,
And when she had been DMing me on TikTok, and I hadn't responded because I don't be on TikTok. And when she came to my Instagram, and she DM'd me and she said that she had been messaging me on TikTok, and I was like, "You saw what video?" So it made me go back and look at the video, and I was like, "Oh, like it was tons of comments, engagement," and I was like,
wow,
"Oh, I ain't realized like it was months later."
wow,
Then Cosentix emailed me, and they was like, we would love to like talk with you about potentially being an ambassador," and I was
mhm,
like, oh, wow. Look at the theme of my life from pain to purpose coming full circle back for me because I didn't plan this.
mhm.
I just knew I had a platform. I knew I had a voice, but most importantly, I knew that I had found something that was working for me. And I just wanted to share it with everybody. Everybody that was under my listening ear, I wanted to share it. Yeah, it got us here.
So, as someone known for humor and authenticity, how do you decide when to lean into lightness versus vulnerability when talking about HS?
Hmm. I believe in duality. I think that I like to tell myself that while I may not always post about HS, I do believe the things that I do and the places I'm able to sit and the things that I've done and the things that I've been able to accomplish. I think seeing somebody that have HS that is doing the things that I do still show up.
Mm-hmm.
unapologetically with a big personality. I shake the room in any room I enter. I'm unapologetically who I am. I'm funny, I'm entertaining, and all those things I think is me being my biggest advocate and being a big champion for the community, because I tell people all the time I'm just getting started. So when I'm winning an Emmy, people are going to be like, "Oh my God, he has HS, and look at him." When I have on my regalia and my all white on the red carpet, I want people to be like, "Look at him with his all white
Mm-hmm.
on." Like, what's going on? Because I realized that HS was something that used to have me.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just something that I have. Like, I feel like I'm in control. And being in control of something that has taken so much of your life, whether it's a serious moment or a funny moment, I'm gonna be joyful in all of that and through that. Because I remember I famously coined the saying "get up out that bed," and it's a play on words for many different reasons. Because I remember the days that I literally could not get up out the bed because I was in pain. And so
Mm-hmm.
every day that I get to get up out that bed and I'm going to the gym after this to throw some weights around. I'm very active. I walk around I have so many white tank tops now. You probably would think I'm a collector. I'm literally begging for the sun to come out in the summer, so that I can be on the beach with my shirt off. It's and you're gonna see every single thing, and I think that is the advocacy. My
Mm-hmm.
life is my advocacy, and I hope people just can see again how good it looks on the other side of it.
Yeah, that's so true. I think people need that. People need to have, obviously, anytime you see somebody that's going to bring joy into a difficult situation, it always makes things better. It's
Hmm.
like when you think about even like loss, when you're sitting around and yes, you might be mourning somebody, but somebody always cracks a joke about something that somebody that person did that made everyone laugh. That's what you remember, and that's what brings comfort, I think.
Absolutely.
So along with your book that you're already writing, you could write about your HS journey or include that in
Yeah.
there.
Absolutely. Life is real funny. I plan to write a few books, but I do want to, my goal is always to speak more. I think visibility is so important in this space because there are people struggling and they don't even know it. So I'm just grateful for, Novartis being able to bring me into these spaces and these conversations. Even with we had an activation in New York City, beneath the surface, and
Mm,
the play on words, like, really HS is something that is beneath the surface. But I remember we were on stage, and just to even say that I did a panel with Glamour magazine.
mm,
I mean, who would have thunk it?
right.
That boy that couldn't get up out that bed because he was in pain. So, like, even being able to be in this advocacy space is truly a dream come true. And I always think about I wouldn't be in this space had I not went through all of that. So I think that is right there a story within itself. The commercials and things, the things that we've done so far, and I'm just like, wow. You look at some commercials and you're like, oh, that's so cute. But I look at
Mm-hmm.
mine and I'm just like, wow, that's about my life. That's
Mm-hmm.
literally me. And there would be no story to tell if I had not went through that. So I'm really excited to tell more stories. Yeah, it's just really, really fascinating. I always say these things that brought you so much pain,
Mm-hmm.
being able to be a vehicle to drive you to your purpose. It's just so
Right.
amazing how it all works out.
Yeah, absolutely. Representation matters as well, and being able to advocate for people of color, I think, is huge. But generally, just within the HS community, because over the last few years is when I feel like there's been a lot more information. I remember the first time and I saw an HS commercial.
It wasn't me, and that was it.
I don't
Mm-mm.
remember.
It probably wasn't. I'm trying to tell them they need to give me a commercial, so I'm just putting a little bug in their ear because they on the phone.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it's wild because years ago you didn't see all of that. So now
Mm-mm.
there's so much more information out there, and I know there's so many people struggling, and
Yeah,
bringing that advocacy and that awareness front and center, I think is so good. And I love what you're doing is sharing your story and being an advocate for so many people.
I see the Novartis commercials in the gym on the
Mhm.
TV, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, we're really here.
Yeah.
That's
I
so
feel like
cool.
there's so many people that are, it can be controversial. Some people are like, "Oh, I don't like seeing, pharmaceutical commercials and stuff on TV." But at the same time, there's value in that. There's such a
Hmm.
need because people don't know that these things exist, especially if they're going to a doctor that's not giving them correct information or doesn't even know how to properly treat them. And
Hmm.
that happens a lot too.
Yeah, people need to see that. People need to be able to say. People need to have the experience that I was able to have, and that is going to the dermatologist. They need to see that, and if they see it on TV,
Mhm.
they'll be like, "Oh, I just saw that in the gym."
Right.
Or, if you're able to spark their attention, you give them the tools and the knowledge to advocate for themselves or be inspired to go. Like, I see a commercial with me dancing down the middle of the street, like you're doing a little 1, 2,
Mhm.
bringing you in and then giving you information. Like,
Right.
there are so many commercials that I listen to that I know them in totality because it's
Mhm.
just an entertaining commercial, but I also know about whatever that product is. And I
Yeah.
think that is the visibility we need. There are a lot of other chronic illnesses that have the same visibility, and I think
Mhm.
I think in 2026 we're going to see more opportunities for visibility, and I
Mhm.
think that is going to increase the awareness, increase the access, and I think we're going to see an uptick of people getting a official diagnosis. And
Yeah.
I'm 32, but I think about the people that are going to have a new fresh start to their lives, like in their 50s, in their
Right.
60s, that have been dealing with this for years, that
Yeah.
maybe aren't on social media, maybe haven't
Mhm.
seen, what I'm saying, but they may be in their doctor's office and there's a pamphlet with me in it. They may
Mm.
see that in their doctor's office and be like, just looking at it, like, oh, what's this? That's what it takes, and that's why I think about how important it is to have these podcast conversations and be in every space, because
Mhm.
you never know. You cast a wide net. I
Yeah.
forgot what they're saying is, you cast a wide net, you get better fish, a lot of fish, whatever that is. That's what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yes, that's so true. So, looking ahead, how do you hope your advocacy evolves and what kind of a legacy do you hope to build for the HS community?
I would love to take HS with me wherever I go. I think uh, a commercial. I would love. I think I say a commercial because I would love for my family in Alabama who is not on social media
Mhm.
to be able to just randomly in the middle of the day run back to the TV to see. Oh my God, that's him. That's what I want. My goal was to always, like, my grandparents were still alive for quite some time, and I always wanted, like, them to be able to see me on TV. But
Mhm.
baby, they ain't got Netflix in Shorterville, Alabama. They don't even got cell phones. So baby, I gotta get on the cable TV. So just being able to, in my head, I want to go on Good Morning America and talk about it. Share Shepherd
Mhm.
Show. All let's go. Let's
Right.
talk. Because I think I have stories within a story. And I
Mhm.
think just my story of life is already interesting enough. And HS being able to show that is another story. I'm just not someone living with HS. I'm really living with
Right.
HS. Like, I do major brand campaigns. I do a lot of things at New York Fashion Week. I just signed to one of the biggest talent agencies in the world. I'm just getting started. And I think being able to take Cosmetics with me on that journey, since they've been so impactful in me being able to move better and feel
Mhm.
better, I think it's just going to be great. I think, you know, let's see
Yeah.
how long we can ride this train. I want to ride it as long as I can because, I think as my star grows, I want people to see that I'm not stopping anytime
Mm-hmm.
soon. I'm literally just getting started.
I love that. That's so good. What would you tell someone who wants to join a reality TV cast?
Oh, what would I tell somebody? Be yourself. If you ain't interested and you know you're not interested, girl, don't go over there wasting them folks' time. TV is fun, but have a plan. Have
Mm-hmm.
a plan of action. Know what you want out of it. I thought I was going to be the content creator that still worked, like had a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably the first work thing I've done this year. I really just been focused on going to the gym. And I think that's a testament of just how, if you have a plan and if you know where you're supposed to be and if you're passionate about it, I tell
Mm-hmm.
people all the time, baby, if it keeps you up in the middle of the night, you go forth and give it your best. I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people forget how to dream. I think a lot of people get stagnant in the waiting room of their dreams. If we're going to see a doctor, yeah, we might be annoyed, but how many people get up and literally leave out the doctor's office because they didn't get to see him? Nobody. How many
Mm-hmm.
people, when they get back there to the doctor's office, be like, oh my God, why did it take so long? Not a lot of people, because we want help. And
Mm-hmm.
I think our dreams can help fuel us. And so I think we have to stop being impatient in the waiting room. I think we have to, when you go and put stuff in the microwave, you don't be opening it up every few seconds to see if it's warm because you know it's not. It still got 25 seconds left. So
Mm-hmm.
stop being impatient. Come on. So if it keeps you up at night and if reality TV is that thing, try it. Why not? It's fun. It's all the rage. As somebody that loves TV, I love TV. I think people think TV is dying and it's really not. There's a
Mm-hmm.
new wave of what TV looks like and entertainment. Is it hard cracking into it? Yes. But I think if you're a person of interest and if you have something, I think we all have something different that we bring to the earth. And if you think
Yeah.
that is worth being on TV, then go forth. Because I know I was one of one. It's only one Frank Grimsley in the world. There will be none other after, and there's not been one before. Now, there have been great people to come before me, but there's
Mm-hmm.
only one me. And if you feel like you're talented and you want that to be showcased on a broader platform, go forth.
That's good. Thank you so much, Frank, for sharing your story. And it has been such a pleasure talking to you. So, if anyone wants to follow you on social media, where can they find you and learn more?
They can find me at Frank in the City on all platforms. No I before the N. If there's anybody listening to this that thinks they may have HS or may sound like something that they've been experiencing in their life, I would definitely encourage anybody to reach out to their medical provider, reach out to a
Mhm.
dermatologist, advocate for yourself. I would definitely take some time to visit the Cosentix website. I do think I have a picture or two on there. There are a lot of resources there for, people that may be experiencing HS in general. I really love to like point people just to their website because if you think that is
Mhm.
something that you have experienced or you are experiencing, hearing my story, hearing other patients' stories, seeing like just how they've been able to navigate their journey. I think Cosentix does a really good job of understanding that storytelling is truly important. And I think if you are questioning, I think that would be a great place to like start to answer some of your questions.
Yeah, that's
And then you can
good.
always DM me. Now I don't always be in my DMs, but if you DM me, I will do my best to respond. But come follow me on social media. I haven't started posting for the year yet, but I've been running through some new ideas. I'm getting ready to really ramp it up this year. It's gonna be a great year for Frank in the City on social media. So baby, come
Okay.
on and enjoy
Yes.
the ride, baby, because we have a good time over on my side of the internet.
That is good. Thank you so much, Frank. It was so good talking to you.
This was fun. I really did feel like I was talking to my homegirl.
Yes.
This was great. Thank you for all the work you're doing to, spread advocacy and awareness. It's really important. And I don't take it for granted that you wanted me to be here today. So I'm super grateful that you had me.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me and listening to That's Derm Good. You can expect new episodes of That's Derm Good every week. The podcast is available on your favorite app, including where you're listening right now. Subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new episode. Bye.